And now to the other big story, the future of Roe versus Wade and the battle over abortion rights. Growing anger and disappointment among abortion rights advocates after Politico published a leaked first draft opinion suggesting the days of the federal guaranteed right to an abortion are numbered. The High Court confirms the draft document is real, but the opinion on the issues, including overturning the landmark 1973 Roe v. Wade decision, is not final. Chief Justice Roberts directed an investigation into the unprecedented leak, calling it a, quote, egregious breach of trust.
Somebody, likely somebody inside the court itself, leaked a confidential internal draft to the press, almost certainly in an effort to stir up an inappropriate pressure campaign.
Red states and blue states, old people and young people want Roe versus Wade to maintain.
We don't want to dismember children.
If the draft opinion stands, it would mean a dramatic shift in reproductive rights in this country. Millions of American women could immediately lose their legal right to an abortion.
And so tonight, California lawmakers are announcing plans to amend the Constitution to help women across the nation.
ABC 10's political reporter Morgan Reiner begins our team coverage tonight. And Morgan, what's the plan?
Madison, the plan is just that. Change the state's constitution to make it clear women have the right to an abortion. It'll require a 2/3 vote by the legislature and then a 2/3 vote by the general public. And Madison, it's possible. A Public Policy Institute of California poll found that about 80% of voters do not want Roe v. Wade to be overturned.
Governor Gavin Newsom teamed up with top state lawmakers to change California's constitution to explicitly state a woman has the right to an abortion.
My goal is to get this on the ballot for November, working with the stakeholders and partners.
The draft released by the Supreme Court to overturn Roe versus Wade would hand the power back down to the states. California already has protections in place. Planned Parenthood of California CEO Jody Hicks said if this leaked draft shows anything, it's that 50 years of legal precedent holds no water.
If we can put any layers of protection, not just for today, but for our future generations, then, I'm personally grateful that they're willing to do that. And, this is the first time that we're leaving to our children less rights than we had.
Leaders say they're preparing for an influx of women from across the country, as about half the states are projected to ban abortions once the decision is finalized. Dr. Daniel Grossman told me he's already seeing an increase.
They are choosing to travel to California, even though it's not the closest place where they could go to access care.
What's the cost of this? Women's Caucus Chair Christina Garcia told me that's where a bill that's making its way through the legislature comes into play.
It's a way for us to have a public-private partnership, so we could be collecting private dollars to help fund the expenses of both traveling out of state, but also paying for the medical care, legal expenses that might be accrued in there as well.
Atkins adding they're not proposing using the state's surplus because of the generosity she knows will pour in. Republican Assembly member Kevin Kiley called the state's response to a draft irresponsible.
And is trying to sort of intervene and even perhaps intimidate the court with, very explosive language.
Kiley is running for Congress, and on the national level, Joe Biden is asking Congress to step in and pass protections for women across the country, something Kiley told me he would not support, Chris.
Now, Morgan, there are some estimates the state is expecting millions of women to travel to California to get an abortion. Have we already started to see an influx?
Chris, months ago, when the discussion about overturning Roe v. Wade first started, a clinic doctor told me he was getting calls from women across the country to set up appointments. Everyone I spoke to today, including that same clinic doctor, told me they are seeing an increase. An exact number, though, I don't have yet.
Our Morgan Reiner reporting live for us tonight in the newsroom. Morgan, thank you.
Also happening right now, protests outside the federal courthouse in Sacramento as people there are calling for the right to an abortion to be upheld.
ABC 10's Giacomo Luca is there live tonight. And Giacomo, I understand this is one of multiple protests happening across the country.
That's right, Chris. So many taking place at courthouses across America today after that leak happened. You can see both see and hear this very large crowd here in front of the Matsui Courthouse, the federal court in Sacramento, all in solidarity with other demonstrations happening across the nation. While abortion access in California is unlikely to change if Roe v. Wade is struck down, it could have consequences for those out of state who could be turning to California for answers.
At Planned Parenthood Marmonte Health Centers between July 2021 and April 15th of 2022, we've provided abortion care to 80 patients from out of state. 29 of those patients who've traveled from Texas did so after SB 8 went into effect.
Planned Parenthood Marmonte Health Centers in Sacramento spokesperson Lauren Babb says,
and ultimately the reversal of Roe could drive up the number of out-of-state patients whose nearest abortion provider would be in California. So roughly, with Roe in place, that's about 46,000 people. Without Roe, that's about 1.4 million folks coming to California for services.
Even in California, where abortion services are likely to remain protected, she says services can be challenging to reach for many, especially in the Central Valley where centers are much farther apart. Babb says access would be extremely difficult to reach for people who are seeking services out of the state, but says they're working with numerous other organizations to make sure people who are seeking these services will have access regardless of the decision in the coming weeks or months. And as you can see out here in Sacramento, despite that leak, you can see there are quite a few people out here, at least in Sacramento, as well as all across the country, continuing to fight for what they believe is their right now. Back to you.
Our Jack Maluka live tonight. Again, more protests are planned. We'll make sure you all know on air and online at abc10.com.